So excited to get into the Harmonizer Award as our next award for this evening, which will be presented to Corinne Bailey Ray by the incredible Autumn Rowe momentarily. Yes, the Harmonizer Award honors a creator who uses music to leverage social change, a voice of our collective conscience who pushes boundaries to powerfully articulate their message and drive deeper meaning through music. This artist and producer challenges issues of our time head on and inspires social change. Autumn, come on up here, it's cool. As a creator, Corinne Bailey Ray has taken immense care in crafting her music to impart a powerful message of our times. She has been a producer on her albums since early in her career, including her remarkable latest album, 2023's Black Rainbows. And to present the award, another incredible talent, Grammy-winning singer, songwriter, producer, DJ, mentor, advocate for songwriters' rights, Autumn Rowe.
Hello, everyone. Wow. So, Corinne, I've been a fan of yours before we even met, which, believe it or not, was 13 years ago. It's so crazy. So I first met Corinne by introducing myself to her at the BMI Awards in 2011. And this felt so super cringy for me because I was fangirling, like I am tonight, over you two women. And it was even more cringy because you were hanging out with RZA from Wu-Tang. And I was like, who am I going to just go up to these two amazing people and say hello? But I had to introduce myself to you because I'm like, maybe there's a chance and sometime in our life we will connect. And we did, years later. Getting to know you and a glimpse into your creativity and artistry has been so inspiring. I have watched you work on a hi-hat for days. And I don't have the patience for that. And I admire you. You are a true artist. You are a true producer in so many ways. So what do you do when you've created some of the best pop music in our lifetime, which you have? What do you do? And you showed us. You create music with intention, and you find something that is bigger than yourself. And that's exactly what you did with Black Rainbows. Artists are constantly looking for a muse, a spark, something transformative. And where does it come from? Somewhere in the air, somewhere in the atmosphere, somewhere from our ancestors, which you tapped into. And I've listened to this album. If you haven't heard Black Rainbows, please listen to it. It is one of the most fantastic works of art of our lifetime. And I think it's gonna live for very long. Whether or not people recognize it today or in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, it's going to go down as one of the great works of arts. The impact the Stony Island Arts Bank has made on you, it's spiritual, it's gorgeous, it's painful, it's soulful, and most importantly, it's necessary. Thank you for being the vessel you are, reminding us of some of the ugliest parts of American history in a time when many people are trying to erase it. Yes. Through your gorgeous melodies, chords, songwriting, production, and performance, and the kind of care only you could put into a project like this, I believe your work and legacy will be remembered in history forever. So it is my honor to present you tonight the Harmonizer Award.
Thank you so much, Autumn. That means the world to me, what you've said. This award means a ton to me because it's in recognition of music and what music can do and in social change. And I feel like many of you will think, well, how does this relate to the music that I have made? And that's because with this record, it was a real transformation from me, for me, to move from making music which was really personal and about my life and relationships and things I had done and me. And so many of you who are artists will know how sometimes tiresome or uncomfortable it can be to give the 175 interviews about the work that you've made, because it's so much talking about yourself and it can feel very self-indulgent and sort of not very universal or personal. I think as you go on in your career and you explore all these different avenues of yourself, you know, it can be a little bit of a dead end after a while. And so I was amazed to come across this building in the south side of Chicago, which many of you will know is an underserved community. I think that's the new sort of politically correct term for a really poor, struggling neighborhood. The south side, when I first went to visit there was, we were standing on the street waiting to get into this incredible building, this Gothic bank that's 100 years old, that was saved from demolition by this artist, the Astor Gates. So instead of being full of money, it's full of archive, it's full of black historic objects, magazines, newspapers, books, photographs, and all these problematic, derogatory objects that were saved by this black and Chinese banker who wanted to take these objects out of circulation. We were waiting to go into the building, and we heard this sound which sounded like a car backfiring, and then this guy just sort of ran past with his top off, and we started knocking on the door of the building a little bit harder to get in. You know, there's violence all around in this neighborhood. We also saw, it was one of the first places I've ever been to in America where there were adverts on the bus shelter that said, you know, if you want to give up your child in the first 30 days of its life, you just have to wrap it in a clean towel and you can hand it into one of these buildings, either this local police station or a fire station or a hospital, and there'll be no questions asked, you know. So this is the neighborhood in which this building exists. And then when you go into this building, it's this cathedral to black art, to black resilience, to black thinking and history. And I had never been in a space like that before, a really beautiful space, you know, a double-height library with 26,000 books have been submitted to the Johnson Publishing Group, who did Ebony Magazine, Jet Magazine. And these were books on all sorts of subjects, you know, the Black Pioneers Going West, or Beauty Queens, or the rock churches of Lalibela in Ethiopia, or recipe books, yearbooks, biographies, or just everything surrounding us in this room. And then going upstairs, seeing these problematic objects from America's past, newspaper articles, songs from slavery, postcards depicting lynchings, objects that people would use in the home after emancipation, which kind of continued to represent black labor as something that could be commodified and used. And so when I looked around this building just as someone who was curious about all this stuff, you know, and I saw in the corner this art object. It was a sculpture, and I didn't know anything about it. And I asked the Astor what it was. He said it was one of his pieces, and it was made from the floorboards from an abandoned police station in Chicago. And straight away, I sort of felt these stories coming into me. It was shortly after the death of Sandra Bland. And I just thought about a police station and on the floorboards, you know, what have these objects seen and experienced? I think in history, so often it's the objects that really hold the truth. You know, they can't talk, but they were there. They're the witness to events. And so when I left that building, all I could think about was the songs, the stories, the photographs, the faces. I thought about this sculpture. And I thought about the tales that were held in here. And so when I was on tour, all I could do was write and make poems. And I really wanted to get back to this building, which I did. You know, I went there for 2 weeks and sat in the library and read and saw what was happening in the building. You know, it was used by the community. 1 minute you turn around, there was a prayer meeting happening here, and then there'd be a dance party, and then there'd be a huge art installation happening, and someone would be performing contemporary dance. Then there'd be a dinner. The whole thing's curated by the local community. So I was amazed by this building, and I felt like it kind of opened up my practice as an artist. What do we want to do? What do I want to do as a musician? I love producing. I'm so happy to be here and be acknowledged as a producer. And I think if you're an artist who produces, certainly, I guess I can only talk about my own experience, it slows the whole thing down. I feel like the labels really hate it because it adds on a whole stage of development to a song which could easily be skipped out, right? It's like once you're there and you're the product, why would they let the product do the producing? Someone else can replicate that sound that you've got, and you could be busy out on tour while they're writing the songs, or they're taking the songs you've written and putting the sound around them, but with a new contemporary feel because it's the latest. This guy's so hot right now, look what he's doing in drums, or he's so hot right now, he's just had a hit. And I definitely felt at many times in my career this pull to just kind of hand over what I've done to someone else, but it just never feels right. It never feels like me, and I feel like because of that, my whole work kind of takes so much longer to do, but it's so satisfying. Those of you who are producers know, to me, that's the whole fun. Thinking about how should this song be? Should it be big or small? Should it shout or should it be intimate? Should it be crazy and wild? Should it be new? Should it be conventional? Should it hold you? Should it push you away? And all the choices that you make, they're so exciting to do. And I always feel like that when I talk to artists. I feel like saying, don't let people take away the fun part and the part where there's all those choices, and it means your career will be different to perhaps how people expect it to be. I think sometimes people think that you're slowing the whole process down or getting in the way, but to me, doing the production, that is the way, that is the fun, and so, yeah, thanks. It is. I find it to be a really difficult decision, and those of you who do that work will, you will be able to second that. I was in a situation with a really big and celebrated music person, and we were working together on a piece of music, and it was late in the night, and they may or may not have been under the influence of drugs and or alcohol, but they sort of cornered me or captured me in this event, in this group of people, and they sort of spat into my ear, "You are the most controlling person I've ever met." And I was so surprised by this because this is someone who works with artists, huge, massive artists, all the biggest artists, and worked with them on their music. And I thought, I'm really surprised that you could frame me as being the most controlling person that you've ever met. And the context for me was that perhaps this person hadn't met many women who were really willing to be really honest about the music that they were making and say that they had an opinion. And so I'm very grateful for this award. I'm grateful for the way that things are changing for me. I'm grateful for the support of artists like Autumn Rowe and Paris and Amber Strother, who's sitting over there at the table from King, and all the people that encourage me and make me feel like I'm not crazy to want to be involved in this stuff when when I really should be just out, I don't know, learning the steps to the dance routine for the video or something. It's like the making of the music is the whole thing for me. I love it. I will never stop doing it, even if it was to slow me down and make me much less successful and popular. I feel compelled to be myself, so I'm very grateful to be recognized.